Islam went up not out of courage. Islam did not go up out of adding hardware to put on his mantle. He went up with one condition, which is I don't have to fight Belal Muhammad. Now, he can sit around and say, I could beat Belal, and I wouldn't go up and beat Belal because I can beat Belal. The bottom line is you entered a division openly that you said you wouldn't face one of the top guys. That's not a sign of courage. That's a sign of cowardice. I don't love the idea. You have an undefeated. Make sure you understand what happened. I know this is your friend, DC. I think of Islam as my friend, too. But let's think of what happened. You have an undefeated, #1 ranked world champion who's chasing you down. He is willing to leave his division behind. He's willing to walk away from his belt to chase you down. You are so interested in getting away from this guy that you not only leave your belt, you leave your division, and the whole thing is only contingent that you don't have to fight Islam. Not for nothing. This is not the way champions conduct themselves.
Brother.
Yeah. I'm over here sipping on coconut. Talk about when you gonna fight.
How are you, bro?
Everything is fine, my
You
friend.
doing good? My man.
I'm excited to see you again.
But you are still active. 10 years left, but you are still active.
He said you got 10 years left, but you're still active.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm done.
He got a little girl, he's like,
And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Let's talk about the two ducks of the UFC, Islam Makhachev and the biggest duck of them all, Jon Jones. Wanted to start off talking about Islam Makhachev first, because the Chill Sonnen video was really interesting. Islam Makhachev, he had the chance to fight the third pound-for-pound ranked fighter in Ilia Topuria on International Fight Week, and then moved up to fight JDM. And everybody and their moms wanted this fight. Even your favorite content creator wanted this fight. The only people that are saying that they don't want this fight is the Islam Makhachev fans. Now, I know I'm going to have a whole bunch of you in my comment section saying, oh, Ilia's too small, JDM's bigger now, or oh, Ilia's a featherweight and Islam has already fought so many featherweights. Oh, Ilia's never been ranked in lightweight before. He needs to fight before he fights Islam. We're gonna get all that. I don't care. I'm gonna literally debate with you guys in the comments because, dude, Islam Makhachev ducked Ilia Topuria. And let's be real. The man, after he fought Renato Moicano, literally said,
for me, no matter who can make 155, just step to the cage and stay in front of me.
and what happened? Ilia Topuria said, I want to fight Islam Makhachev. He vacates his featherweight belt. And the UFC agreed with Ilia Topuria that they would make that fight against Islam Makhachev. But out of nowhere, Islam Makhachev decides he wants to move up to welterweight. Now, I know there's going to be some of you in the comments, oh, he's been wanting to move up to welterweight. Then how come he hasn't moved up to welterweight? What was taking him so long? Like, he literally finished Renato Moicano in the first round, took no damage, and decided to wait out, his next opponent. And when he found out it was going to be Ilia Topuria, he decided he wanted to move up. And that's kind of why I wanted Belal Muhammad to beat JDM, because I still wanted this fight. But now I really don't care, because you know what? I think JDM has a really good chance of beating Islam Makhachev. He has way better striking, and if he has really good takedown defense, better than how Dustin Poirier did against Islam Makhachev, he might have a chance of winning this fight. But I still think Islam Makhachev might win the fight. I'm agreeing with you Islam Makhachev fans. He still has a chance of winning this fight. I think he might win this fight, but we don't know. It's too early right now. And I just can't believe we're not getting the fight that we wanted, bro. Like, think about it like this. Islam Makhachev's best win is against Alexander Volkanovski. Ilia Topuria's best win is against Alexander Volkanovski. Ilia Topuria just finished knocking out Max Holloway, who had one of the most untouchable chins in the UFC. And Volkanovski just won his belt back. So those two wins, they look good for Ilia Topuria, and the Islam Makhachev versus Volkanovski win, it looks good too, even though that first fight was super close, and the second fight, Volkanovski was coming off the couch on 10 days notice. So imagine, Islam Makhachev's best win is against a featherweight, and he was scared to fight another featherweight, which made no sense because you should have just fought another featherweight, beefed up your resume, because I think a win over Ilia Topuria is better than JDM. With the resume that Ilia Topuria has, it's obviously way better than JDM. Gilbert Burns just got knocked out nasty in like he got demolished by Michael Morales, and that's JDM's second best win of his career after beating Belal Muhammad for the belt. I just feel like so many of you Islam Makhachev fans, man, I know you're gonna come after me, but it's just like, brother, let's be real. He was ducking Ilia Topuria, and then he comes after Ilia Topuria talking mad smack when he's saying, oh, he needs to fight somebody before he gets to the belt. When, if you think about it like this, Khabib, when he was coming up, his next fight was supposed to be against Eddie Alvarez for the belt. But obviously, what did the UFC do? They make the Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez fight because Conor McGregor was the bigger fighter at the time, and Eddie Alvarez basically ducked Khabib. Let's be honest. And look what happens now. This is obviously different circumstances, but if you really think about it, Ilia Topuria moving up, defended the belt once, but he's the third pound for pound best fighter in the UFC, wants to fight Islam Makhachev, wants the better fight, because I know some of you Islam fans are going to be like, oh, he ducked Masvidal, when Masvidal wasn't even in the conversation after he beat Aljamain Sterling. Remember, the fight that they were going to make again was Ilia Topuria versus Alexander Volkanovski 2. Then after that, they probably would have made Diego Lopez versus Ilia Topuria if Diego Lopez got passed by whoever they were going to give him. We don't know. But he went up and said, I want the better fight against Islam Makhachev. And what does Islam Makhachev do? He creates this crazy circumstance because the UFC, they failed. The UFC really failed. They gave Islam Makhachev too much leverage. And Islam Makhachev said, okay, the only way I'm fighting Ilia Topuria is if Belal Muhammad wins. Because he wasn't going to fight Belal Muhammad, even though, I don't know what it is about this religion stuff or whatever. They were training partners. If he really didn't care like that, he would have fought Belal Muhammad. But he was respectful to Belal Muhammad, and he said, if JDM wins, I'm going up to welterweight for that belt. Now, mind you, he was saying that he was going to be double champ, meaning that he was going to hold up a whole other division and move up for the welterweight belt. But it wasn't going to happen. Dana White and the UFC were not going to let that happen. They weren't going to hold up another division. If Ilia Topuria had to vacate his belt, you do too, Islam. And that's what kind of happened. And I still think this fight could happen if Ilia Topuria beats Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev loses to JDM. But I don't know. It's going to look really bad if Islam Makhachev loses to JDM and now is looking for a fight against Ilia Topuria, and now Ilia Topuria as champ probably wants to fight Paddy Pimblett, Arman Tsarukyan. But I'm pretty sure the UFC is going to, they're going to make this fight if Islam Makhachev decides he wants to move down, couldn't get the belt, and they're obviously going to try and make this fight. This is one of the biggest fights that should have happened this year, but Islam Makhachev made things so complicated. If he would have just said yes, sign the paper, sign the contract, we would have had this fight for UFC 317. This would have been one of the best cards this year, let's be honest. That would have been one of the best cards this year. Mind you, if you look at the card right now, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira is carrying that card. I feel like UFC 317 is weak. And I think the reason why it's so weak is because the UFC really wanted Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. That would have just sold the card itself. Like, people would have just bought pay-per-views just because that fight is happening. But that's all I got for Islam Makhachev, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not a hater on Islam Makhachev, dude. Like, he's one of the best lightweights of all time, dude. Like, let's be honest right now. He's like, you know, he's a lightweight GOAT. Let's be honest. He's the lightweight GOAT. But I just feel like he really ducked Ilia Topuria, and later on it's gonna look bad if he loses to JDM. It's gonna look bad if he loses to JDM, and if Ilia Topuria wipes out the lightweight division clean and decides he wants to move up, and Islam's still there, which I don't think Islam's gonna be still there if he beats JDM. I think Islam Makhachev is gonna beat JDM and decide to retire and call it a career, which I think is gonna be a little bit bad on his career if he doesn't fight Ilia Topuria, because that's the fight that everybody wanted. But whatever. I'm not trying to hate on Islam Makhachev so hard like that. I'm just saying that he really did duck Ilia Topuria, and it's the truth. Chael Sonnen said it in the video. You had a guy who's literally one of the best fighters in featherweight right now. He literally vacated his belt to come fight you, and you just decided to run away to another division because you did not want to fight him. And this probably would have been your hardest fight. Now, a lot of you are going to say, oh, JDM is going to be his hardest fight because he's at 170. Let's be honest right now. JDM does not have the grappling that Ilia Topuria has. Ilia Topuria has submission wins in the UFC. He submitted Bryce Mitchell. So it's like, he beat Bryce Mitchell. Come on. And he has submission wins in his career. JDM really doesn't have submission wins in his career. He has more knockouts and more, you know, decision wins. But I still think JDM has a really good chance of beating Islam Makhachev. I still can't wait to see that fight. But Islam Makhachev is a duck. Islam Makhachev is a duck. Now, let's move on to Jon Jones, because I'm sick and tired of Jon Jones already. I don't know what the UFC is doing anymore. They should have stripped Jon Jones already, and I feel like the reason why they haven't stripped Jon Jones is because Dana White said it himself in the little live stream that they still think they can make the fight. I don't know what they're doing, but I feel like the UFC right now, with all the pay-per-views that's coming up right now, all the cards that's coming up, they're trying to rack up money to throw at Jon Jones before he even could say no. But let's be honest right now, Jon Jones, he's in Thailand right now, doing the tough version of Thailand or whatever, and he's living the good life right now. And it sucks because you have Tom Aspinall wasting his prime away, waiting for this fight. And he's tired of waiting at this point. And I feel like the UFC is taking too long to strip Jon Jones from the belt. And they should have just done it already. And they should have just made Aspinall versus Cyril Gane already. They should have just made that fight. Already. And nobody really cares about Jon Jones anymore. And Jon Jones' legacy is going to be remembered as, you ducked the interim champ. Let's be honest right now. Nobody's going to look back in his career and say, oh man, Jon Jones was really one of the greatest GOATs. Yeah, on paper, he's one of the greatest GOATs. But if you really think about it, he is a steroid cheat, got caught using steroids. He's a woman beater. He's one of the worst of the worst. Let's be honest right now. And his legacy is getting tarnished right now because he does not want to fight the interim champ when you have to unify the belt. And you really think about it like this. When Jermaine Durandamy did not want to fight Chris Cyborg, what did the UFC do? They stripped the belt off her. And look at the Bisping situation with Joel Romero. Bisping completely ducked Joel Romero to fight Dan Henderson, and then what does he do? He goes up to fight GSP. That kind of reminds you a little bit of, of the Islam Makhachev situation, but in reality, dude, UFC's just filled with I just don't like when the UFC doesn't do what needs to be done, and it's make the fight that the fans want. The fans want this fight, and they don't want to make the fight happen. I don't know what this company's doing. I don't know what this promotion's doing. But if you really think about it, 2025, we were supposed to have some of the most banger fights, man. We were supposed to have Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. Yes, Arman Tsarukyan pulled out with a back injury. That's not on Islam. But you finish Renato Moicano in the first round with no damage, and you decide to wait it out, see who, you decide to wait it out who's you're going to be your next opponent. And it was going to be Ilia, and you ran. We were supposed to have Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall since last year, and they made the Stipe fight. And now we're probably never going to get this fight because, let's be honest right now, Jon Jones is on the brink of retirement. He might just retire. And the UFC is literally taking the prime away, like Aspinall's prime away. Let's be honest right now. They're just cooking it up. We're supposed to have Pantoja versus Merab. I wanted to see that fight. I didn't want to see Merab versus O'Malley too. Nobody cared for that fight. Only the UFC casuals and the people that support Happy Dad and the Nelk boys, or I don't know, Dana White's little gang or whatever, that wanted to see O'Malley with the belt. Because let's be honest right now, O'Malley with the belt sells more pay-per-views, sells more products than Merab. And Pantoja fighting Kai Kara France, what does that do for his legacy? I feel like that's going to be an easy win for Pantoja right there. And then he's probably going to want to move up to fight Merab regardless. I feel like that should have been the fight to be made anyways. But the UFC's just been... They've been on a diabolical roll this year for 2025. They haven't been giving us the fights that we've wanted. Hopefully they give us Shevchenko versus Wei Ling. I feel like that's the fight to make. I don't know, they're not going to announce anything. Maybe they fight in December. But that's obviously the fight to make. Let Wei Ling Zhang move up to fight Shevchenko for the belt. That would be the most interesting fight in WMMA. And I'm gonna let's be honest, WMMA is dead. Shevchenko versus Farah was one of the worst fights, one of the worst WMMA fights, one of the worst title fights we've seen this year. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section, man. The UFC's been lacking lately. But I'm JNEPS MMA. Like and subscribe, and I'm out.